Hello everybody, it's Wyvern here with a bit of Total War Warhammer quick match gameplay. This time around I'm playing as vampire counts against the dwarves led by Fulo 326 on the map Stir River. So starting right off, I know I was going up against dwarves, so kind of wanted to make a comp to just deal with it and head on kind of blunt force fashion. So I brought the Red Duke on a dragon, coming in with all his abilities. I added in Arcane Conduit as well, and of course has El Sif. Only brought Dance Macabre, Invocation of Nehek, and Raise Dead as far as spells go. My front line is a mix of Graveguard and Graveguard with great weapons. There's the Königstein Stalkers in the middle. They're kind of poor man's Graveguard, but they also do poison, which is why I brought them. And out on the far flank, I have the Sternsman Graveguard, who of course regenerate, and that should make him tanky versus most dwarven units. In the middle, I do have a Corpse Cart with an Unholy Lodestone. Definitely a bit of a risk since dwarves have a lot of shooting, but if I can keep it safe, then the buff it provides and the passive regen it provides is absolutely crucial and very helpful for my units. Then, of course, two White Kings backing up the front line, kind of there for encouragement, because of course the Red Duke's going to be diving in on his dragon. And out on the flank, I do have Black Knights with Lances and Barding. You don't really need to go too expensive on cavalry against dwarves, because they don't really have much large, so not bring in much in the way of artillery or of heavy cavalry of that stuff. I also didn't bring monsters because I didn't want to deal with them being shot up by enemy portals and thunderers. So as you can see, I'm starting very far from my opponent. He camped all the way in the corner, created kind of this defensive box, which is pretty classic for dwarves, really. Versus undead, it's a bit lackluster because you can't shroud off enemy units if they try to flank you, but off the map, but still pretty solid. Coming in, of course, I'm going full speed because we're starting far away. Thorgrim in the middle. Coming in, of course, with looks like just the Book of Grudges and High King, which gives his units Frenzy if he's below 50% leadership. Then his units consist of two Runesmiths, both coming in with... actually, no, it looks like he only brought Runes of Wrath and Ruin, but he did bring a Master Rune of Groth One Eye, which is +8 leadership, and Master Rune of Summoning Redbeard. I think this is definitely a bit of a mistake because these two runes do not overlap, and when you've got this sort of compact box, or these runes do overlap, they don't stack, so he's only getting the benefit of one of them, and in this sort of box, you really don't need two. Would have probably been better off with some sort of different runes. Thane with a Potion of Strength, two Quarrelers just to kind of shoot down my units, a front line of Longbeards. He's got two on all flanks. As you can see, the cannons are already opening fire at my Red Duke over here, who's just trying to dodge around and avoid getting shot up. Two cannons in the back, Longbeard box of 6 Longbeards, and Slayers in the middle. Of course, they will do fairly well against large units. So yeah, I'm actually going to throw in the fast forward because there isn't much happening. As you can see, my Black Knights with Lance and Barding are coming around the flank, trying to sneak up on my opponent's rear. As you can see, the first volley of cannon fire comes in. Unfortunately, hits my Graveguard with great weapons, so I'm really relying on to do the damage, and absolutely devastates him. 16 models lost without a single volley. Fortunately, I know my opponent won't get too many volleys off. I think cannons have something like they fire once like every 20 seconds. Another volley goes in, does nothing, scratches its Graveguard a little bit, 6 models off there. Tried to hit the White King, didn't get much done. Fortunately, I do think cannons shoot like once every 20 seconds. They have a very slow rate of fire, which is definitely a bit of a saving grace here. Yeah, you can see the reload time 19 seconds. So my opponent isn't going to get too many volleys off, despite the fact that I'm being slowed by the water and all that stuff. So I'm just pushing in as fast as I can, as fast as the undead can. Of course, they're very slow. Trying to get those White Kings in. I'm being very cautious with the Corpse with the Unholy Lodestone because that is probably the most susceptible unit that enemy ranged fire. It has no armor, no shield, and no, of course. It's large. It's a very, very easy target to hit. And it's slow to boot. In the meantime, I'm trying to sneak my Black Knights with Lances and Barding through the woods, trying to get in on my opponent's flank, get into the cannons, shut them down, that sort of stuff. My front line has held up pretty well. I'm not really too worried. And I see that my opponent's brought a bunch of Longbeards. Obviously, I figured there was something in the woods. I just wasn't sure what. I was a little worried it could be like ranged with great weapons or something like that. But a Graveguard will perform fairly well against Longbeards, since both of them have good staying power and neither of them do a lot of damage, but my Graveguard with great weapons should definitely swing the tide in my favor. As should the Königstein Stalkers with their poison. As you can see, volleys of Quarrelers, shots coming in, but the Königstein Stalkers do have 60 armor. Like I said, they're a bit of a poor man's Graveguard, and they have bronze shield, so they will hold up somewhat well. They're a little quicker than the Grave Guards, so they'll close the distance fairly quickly. In the meantime, Black Knights are swinging around. I'm finally pulling the Red Duke in now that the cannons are refocused on something different, trying to kill these Grave Guard, get the last 2 volleys in. Of course, the Koenigstein Stalkers are taking some damage, but only about 3 models lost so far. Nothing too terrible, given that they're being focused pretty hard. And my Black Knights do charge into my opponent's rear, and now they're on top of the cannons. They're wiping out the crew. They've already taken half this cannon screw, and almost half of this cannon screw as well, with their initial charge. Now I've got the Red Duke coming in. He stops in the middle of the woods. I popped Fosse here to come a little closer and pop some zombies here to try to deny these Slayers the ability to counterattack. In the meantime, I pull my Black Knights with lances barding away before my opponent can counterattack. And now my front line is on top of my opponent. The Grave Guard are in there. The White King's coming in. Van Hel's Dance Macabre goes down, which will boost my melee attack, at least for a little bit. And I dive in with the Red Duke. Bit of a risky situation considering Slayers are right here, but I did figure that I could pull it off. In the meantime, more Grave Guard coming in because these guys did get slowed down a little bit. I do believe they had to climb a hill. Corpse Card over here getting into range. I pop out an Invocation of Nehek. And now I'm being focused by the Runesmith, the Thane, and I do believe the Slayers. Yeah, the Slayers are coming at me, after me as well. Now I do sneak these, but seeing that that's happening, I do throw the Knights with Lances barding into the back, trying to get into these Longbeards. Longbeards are immune to psychology, so the Red Duke's terror bombing is not going to work here at all. So I'm kind of hoping to make use of the shock from the rear shock and rear charge and that stuff. But I'm definitely not looking for a quick victory here. I know it's not going to happen, and this is Dwarves we're talking about, so is what it is. But the Red Duke is dropping very quickly. The Slayers, of course, are dishing out a lot of hurt where they are. They're just swarming him. My Black Knights are also suffering pretty bad. They are tying down the Quarrelers and the cannons, but now they're kind of bogged down, surrounded by dwarves on all sides, and they don't have enough mass to push their way clear. I'm trying to force them into the Longbeards back here, but it's really not happening. But I do pop another Invocation of Nehek. It's healing the Red Duke. Actually, it looks like the Red Duke wasn't in the area of effect, but he is being healed a little bit by the Corpse Cart. And slowly but surely, I'm chewing my way through my opponent. This bucket of Longbeards is getting overwhelmed. My Black Knights, though, are dying. I do throw up some zombies to try to keep these guys down town. With the nerf to zombies, they used to have like a 3-second cooldown on the cast. Now it's a 19-second cooldown, so I can't just spam the zombies left and right. And as you can see, when Slayers are committed to tearing them apart, zombies do not last long at all. So I'm saying, doing here is I'm sending the Red Duke after the Quarrelers, knowing that I'm not going to be able to shut them down otherwise, because my Black Knights have been annihilated. In retrospect, I'm not entirely sure this was a smart idea, because Quarrelers aren't going to do much damage to Graveguard. And so it's, as long as I keep the Red Duke clear, I should be okay. Over here, popping zombies up underneath the Quarrelers, just trying to time down, trying to bog my opponent, and prevent him from doing too much hurt. And my opponent is just kind of piling into this fight, but as you can see, this is kind of perfect undead situation. I have my Corpse Cart with Unholy Lodestone here. Yeah, I'm being hit by Rune of Wrath and Ruin, but a lot of the damage is being undone by the Corpse Cart with Unholy Lodestone. It's just healing my units, keep giving them that 8-point boost to attack. I did pop on Death Resurgent there, just to improve my defense for a little bit, and as you can see, it's just making the units ridiculously tanky. Graveguard has very high melee defense, melee attack, and of course, especially generic area, I don't think great weapons. But as you can see, the boost from Vigor Mortis, plus 8 melee defense, plus 8 melee attack is huge. It means my units really aren't taking much in the way of damage here. And it's just kind of a long, grinding slugfest, but given how much my opponent's committed into his rear line with the Quarrelers and the cannons, I'm pretty confident I can win in a drawn-out slugfest. Quarrelers have been routed. I do believe they'll rout off the field because this is fairly close to the bath patch, so even slow dwarves will probably rout off the field. And I'm trying to get on top of this cannon because I saw that, and I do pop an Invocation of Nehek on myself because I saw that this cannon was just shutting me down. In the meantime, this cannon crew has been driven off by zombies. Zombies on this one. And now these Quarrelers are slowly but surely getting at least bogged down by the zombies. Zombies aren't going to kill very much. But as you can see, even the crappy zombies have got 9 kills against Quarrelers. So, not the end of the world there. And preventing my opponent from doing too much hurt. And now just trying to make sure I don't get caught by Thorgrim. I keep these zombies here, and pop another unit. Just try to time down, buy myself some time. Slayers will do pretty terrible in this situation. They won't even do well against the Koenigstein Stalkers, much less Graveguard or Graveguard with great weapons. We're just kind of over here whittling away. My units are bogged down, of course, but with the AOE regen from the damage boost from Vigor Mortis and all that sort of stuff, they'll do pretty well. I dive bomb the Longbeards over here with the Red Duke, and at this point my opponent is realizing that he's just going to get overwhelmed and decides to end the game. Definitely a bit of a fun game. I think this shows like you can, if you're planning to deal with dwarves, definitely it's smart to bring an army where you can just kind of crush them. If you with sheer weight of numbers and armor, dwarves don't tend to bring too much armor piercing. They tend to rely a lot on their backline to do damage, and even their melee units with armor piercing, they're great weapons, don't really do that much damage. They're generally somewhat weak. They don't have bonus against infantry. They're fairly expensive for what they are, and with the buffs coming in from things from a Corpse with an Unholy Lodestone, for example, or Van Hels's Dance Macabre, you can definitely tear through a dwarf front line over time with just a grinding sort of attrition based combat. Kenigstein Stalkers I think are pretty good. They obviously didn't get much kills, but the poison effect is very solid. It helps debuff your opponents, make it even easier for Graveguard to win out in the long run. And of course, if my opponent brought great weapons, the poison would have been much more efficient. White King kind of filling the role of an Empire Captain here once again, just supporting the front line, making them capable of doing stuff. Black Knights I think are a solid choice. I think you can get by with normal Black Knights, but they have a very low charge mode. Their stats are much lower than Black Knights with Lights as Barding all over, and I do prefer slight boost on the Black Knight, or a significant boost on the Black Knight stats against dwarves. I don't necessarily think Blood Knights are necessary. 600 or more points for slightly boosted combat stats and a bonus against large is not really worth against dwarves. So yeah. As you can see, the Graveguard, even generic Graveguard, does very well against dwarves. Obviously, this was a very dragged out game. The Slayers did amazing, but kill count-wise, but most of that was zombies. Quarrelers actually got quite a bit of kills, but once again, this was mostly zombies. These guys were getting bogged down constantly. The cannons, of course, if they'd focused on the Graveguard with great weapons, they might have gotten a little more done, but still, once they were tied down, there was very little they could do. Even dwarf artillery crews can get wiped out fairly quickly. They are only artillery after all. And yeah. So good game to my opponent. I do hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to leave a like or subscribe down below. If you have any comments, criticism, any ideas on how I can improve my gameplay, or videos, or any comps you'd like to see, or units you'd like to see demonstrated, that sort of stuff, be sure to leave those down in the comments, and I'll be sure to respond as soon as I possibly can. As usual, I appreciate you all for watching, and Wyvern out.